Hey guys, I'm back with the next part of our e-commerce grocery app using .NET MAUI. So this is going to be continuation of our previous video, and so we'll continue in this video from where we left in our previous part. So in previous part we worked on this section, the popular product section. We extracted out this section to a separate reusable control which we'll use on another pages as well, and we worked on this thing. So we can add the item to cart, we can increase the item quantity, and we can decrease the item quantity, and eventually it will get removed completely from the cart. So this is for now simply we could say dummy. It just shows these value, but these are not getting saved anywhere. So in this video we'll continue from here, and in this we'll implement the cart actually. So we'll have some nice floating action button here which will show the current item in the cart, and then we'll work on a separate cart page. Fine. So before continuing on this video, I would recommend you guys to check out all the previous parts of this video series so that we can be on the same page and you can see how we got here, what all things we have implemented and how we implemented all those. And then you can continue on this video. Fine. So without wasting any time, let's get started. So first thing, we need to work on a new view model which is going to be for a cart. So let me stop the app first. So in view models, I'll create a new file, new class file, which is going to be cart view model. Today my system is behaving weird actually. It is very slow. Okay, so cart view model, and we'll use this with our MVVM community toolkit MVVM. So it needs to be observable object with partial. And in this, we are going to have a list of cart items. So if you remember, we have a models folder, and in model, we have this cart item class. So this cart view model is going to have a collection of these cart items. So here we'll have a property observable collection of type cart item, and we'll call this cart items. Fine, with default value as new. Um, hmm. And then we need to have a property here, observable property, to display the total number of products there are currently in this cart. So let's call it count only, underscore count, and this is going to be an observable property. Cool. Now we'll have a couple of commands in here to add the item into the cart and remove the item from the cart. For that, private void, let's say add to cart, and what is this CI or text distortion? Private void add to cart, and this will get our product DTO parameter. So we'll use from product popular products basically, and from then category page. Then we'll work on this. First we'll check if this item, this product exists in this cart items. We'll say cart items dot first dot default if c dot product id equals this product dot id. So now if we have this item, that means item is not null. So in this case what we'll do, we'll simply increase the quantity because we are increasing the quantity. This item already exists in the cart, and we clicked on that plus icon. Now what if this item does not exist in the cart? So this is the first time we are adding this product to the cart. So we'll create a new entry, new cart item, and then we'll fill out the properties. So id, then name, product name, this we'll get from product name, then product ID as well, product ID, and then we are going to have quantity which will be 1. Then we'll have a price which is going to be product price, and what else we have? We have ID, product name, price, and quantity. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5, and amount will be automatically calculated. 1 2 3 4 5, right? 1 2 3 4 5. Cool. So we have this item. Now we need to add this item to cart items. So we added this item to the cart items, and at this point we'll modify this underscore counts observable property with this count property, which is generated for us by community toolkit source generators. So here we'll say cart items dot count. So we need to modify this count only in this else case, not in this if case, because this count means number of products, number of products we have in the cart, not the quantities of those products, right? Quantities. Fine. Okay. And same thing, this is going to be relay command. And next thing we'll have another one to remove the item from the cart. So remove from cart. And in this we can expect only a product ID. We don't need to have the complete product. And here also first thing we'll use the same c dot product ID equals product ID. If item is not null, there will be only this if case. There is no point of having the else condition, because if the item is not in the cart, that product does not exist in the cart, then there is, we don't have to do anything, right? And if this item exists in the cart, then we'll check the quantity for this. If the quantity is 1, that means this is the last item, right? Last item means last item that of that particular product. So we can directly remove this, and then we will have an else part where we'll say just decrease the quantity. So first case will come when we have a single item of that particular product, and the second else case will come when we have multiple quantity, multiple items for that particular product. Then we'll simply decrease the quantity. And same thing for count, we'll do that inside this only. If the quantity is 1, then we'll remove items. At that time we are actually modifying the cart items directly, right? We are removing that item, so we are setting the count as well, and this is again going to be a relay command. Cool. After that, let's have one more method. Private void will say reset cart, or let's say clear cart. Clear cart. Okay, and in here what we'll do, cart items dot clear, and then we'll say, we can say cart items dot count, which is actually 0, so we can set it as this as well. And I think we are good with this. Cool. Now we need to register this cart view model in our dependency container, and one thing to note here, this must be registered as singleton. The reason being, we are going to use this cart view model throughout our app, right? So it will be used from everywhere on our app, maybe at multiple pages, multiple reusable components. So we need to have the same instance so that we can get the current count properly. We can play around with this cart items properly with the same instance. Fine, we added this as a dependency. Then let's go to homepage view model, and we need to inject this in here because we need to use it here as well. Cart view model. Then when we are updating the cart, we are adding the item to cart and removing from cart. So these two commands are getting triggered from this homepage view model. So from here we need to indicate this underscore cart view model as well, because that is the single source of truth for our cart right now. So for that, what we'll do, when we are updating this cart item, we'll check if the count was -1. That means we are removing from the cart, right? We are removing from cart. So in that case, we'll execute the command for removing the cart item. So remove from cart command, and here we need to use product.id. And in the else case, we know we are adding the item to the cart. So from here, we'll execute cart view model dot add to cart command. Dot execute product dot id. No, in this case, we need to have the complete product. It expects a product DTU. Fine. And then we need to have a cart count here as well to display on this page. For that, we'll have a observable property here. So private int, let's call it cart count. Cart count. And this is going to be an observable property. Okay, now we need to modify this cart count. So we can do right now from here only cart count, right? Underscore cart count. After doing this, what we'll do, we'll set cart count equals underscore cart view model dot count. We can do this thing. This is not the correct place, but for now let's have it here only. After that we'll use some events from this cart view model, but for now let's have it here only. Now we need to use this cart count. Okay, we want to display this on our home page. So and instead of directly adding it on the home page, what we'll do, we'll add a new control for that, so that we can show that on some other page as well. So we'll definitely going to show that on our category page. So why not create it as a separate component? So .NET MAUI content view with XAML. So let's say card control. Fine. Card control, what we are going to have in this, we'll have one uh, property to display the current count. So we need to have that as a bindable property from its parent, right? So let's create a public static read only bindable property count property. Bindable property dot create bindable property dot create. Let's have a property here, property int count, and then here we'll have property name, which is count, return type, which is type of int, then the third one is going to be declaring type, which is this cart control only, and then the default value, which is by default 0, so we don't need to do this, or we can have it like this. Fine. Now we need to modify this counts get set. So when we are getting it, we'll use get value on this count property, and we need to typecast it to int. Then comes set. So when we are setting it, we'll use set value with count property and value. Cool. So we have this ready. The backend of this cart control. Now let's work on its UI on this XAML. So let's remove this vertical stack layout for now. What we'll have a border here. Border, and in this border First, we'll have our background color, which is static resource, the darker color, which is our mid color. And let's do one thing. Let's show this on the UI, then we'll design it together, right? Yeah. So the API is already running and app is also running. No, it's not, right? Then why it is showing in running mode? Oh, it is building. Okay, it stopped. Okay, fine. So first thing, let's use this card control on our home page. Then we'll run it and we'll design it together. So let's go to homepage.xml. Where is that? Home page. Hmm. Controls. Grid. We need to show it on the very top. So let's do one thing. Let's create a top grid. In this grid, the first item is going to be scroll view, and the second item is going to be our card control, which needs a count, which will provide from our binding card count. Cool. Save it and let's run it. It's here and it is taking the complete page space. So let's go to card control and let's have horizontal options at center. Sorry, not center, at the end, and vertical options as end. And we can see this fetching data, which is not what we want. What happened? Our API broke. Let's stop it, run the API, and then run this app. Fetching data, we have the data, and yeah, for these images I'm having very bad internet connection today, so that's why this image loading is very slow, and sometimes it's just is not getting loaded because all this data is coming from our API, but these images are coming from GitHub. If you remember, in one of our previous video we did this. Fine. So right now we cannot see that this border. We should see this border, right? So let's have a label with the text binding. What was that? Count, right? And we are not getting that because let's add a name to this and then add the binding context for this. Binding context x reference this. What is the issue? Cannot find this. What is this? This is here. Max name this and then binding context of this border as this. Max reference this. Okay, sometimes it just does not work. Now it is working. Okay, so you can see this zero on this right bottom, right? We need to uh, make it to look beautiful, right? Fine. So first we'll work on this border. What we need here, first thing we need a nice padding. So let's say padding of 10. Okay. Let's make it 30 and 10. Okay. Now let's change the stroke shape to round rectangle. Rectangle with 40. Fine. Then let's have some margin, let's say of 5. Okay. What we can do inside this, instead of just having this text, we'll have a horizontal stack layout. We'll have this label, but before this label, we'll have an image with the source. We have one image for that cart, right? So in our resources, images, we have this bxs underscore cart dot svg. So we'll use this image bxs underscore cart. Fine. After this bxs underscore cart, let's set height and width for this. So height 25 and width request also 25. Fine. Let's set the aspect as aspect fit. Fine. And on this horizontal stack layout, first let's move it to the center, and then let's have the item spacing of something like 10. Fine. And now for this label, what we'll do, we'll simply increase the font size. Let's say 25. Okay. And then color of this to white. Okay. And then make it bold. So font attributes bold. Cool. Now this is in white color, so this cart icon, this should also be in white color. And this is an image. So for that, for images, we can use behaviors, right? So did we already have community toolkit Maui? So we can use that. Are we using that anywhere in this app? I don't remember. Let's see. So you can search for icon tint color behavior. So the way it works, we need to have is at image dot behaviors, and then we'll use that, and that comes from the community toolkit Maui. So let me search for it. So community toolkit Maui image tint color behavior. And I totally forgot, my internet is not working today. Let me find it from some other app. I don't remember if I have it in this one. Okay, so I have this. We added this namespace for the community toolkit, and then we can use here the tint color behavior, icon tint color behavior. And in this, we need to provide the tint color which we are going to use white, which is this one. Nice. And now we can see the item is getting updated. So now we have one item, we are increasing the quantity, but nothing is happening, because nothing will happen because we have only one item in the cart with 6 quantities. Now if we added one more, then it became 2, and now if we add another one, then it will become 3, and now if we remove one of these, then it will again become 2. So this is working, binding is working perfectly fine, these buttons are working, and the design is also looks fine, right? There is one this border right around this, so let's remove the stroke thickness, make it 0. Okay, now let's add some shadow to it. So just it will look great. So on border we can have border dot shadow, and then we can have a shadow element, shadow. Hmm. And in this shadow we can have offset of, let's say, 1 and 1, and the main thing is brush the color of the uh, shadow. So let's have it static resource, let's say primary. Okay, this radish type of color. Make it bigger, so let's say opacity of 10 and radius of 10, radius 10. Okay, so we are good now adding these items, and it went back to black, maybe because we are in debugging mode and we are just checking it, we are changing the behavior, so sometimes hot reload just messes up. So it will be white because we already saw that, so when we restart the app it will be white. But one thing to note here, we should not have it always here, right? So if we remove everything with item 0, it should not be here, right? If the item is 0, we don't have any items in the cart, then there is no point of showing this. It should only appear when we add some item to the cart, right? So let's quickly do this. So what we'll do, in here, uh, we can have property triggers, or let's add some animation as well. Okay, so let's do this. In here, the count, okay, let's do one thing. Let's stop this first. When we are modifying this quantity, let's add some animation. So how that those animations are going to work, we'll have, so whenever this count is changing, that means this bindable property is changing. So it gives us one method, one way by which we can work on this. So we have the property changed event. Wait, property change, this one. So here we can use this one, property changed, and if we check this, this is actually is a delegate. Let's go to its definition. Property changed, this is this delegate which returns void but has these parameters. So let's go here and let's create a private static, let's say on count changed, and we'll have the same signature private static void. Property changed, we'll say on count changed. Cool. And when count is changing, then we'll do something, and that something is going to be, first we'll check, let's say int old count, or let's say pre old count. We need to typecast these values, so we'll say int old value, and then int new count, int new value, and we'll do all this only if the count is changed, right? Old count and new count, if these two are different, then only we'll have our logic. Then the logic that could be, first we'll check if the new count is less than 1, that means it's 0, and that means there are no items, there are no items in the cart, so we need to hide the hide this, say this. Then comes else condition, and else if it says if the old count is less than 1 and the new count is greater than 1. That means this is the first time we are adding a new item to the cart, right? This is the first item to be added to the cart, right? So here we'll say show this, and then comes the else case, which will be for other cases. Other cases means uh, increase, decrease quantity. This is this case, right? So let's add some animations, and animations we need to have the reference to that item, and in this case we'll have reference of this border. Okay, we'll animate this border, the complete thing. So let's add a name to this and we'll say it, let's say container. And now we can access this container in here, right? We can access this container dot. Yeah, we have all these animations now. So here we'll animate these, and how we are going to animate, uh, if you remember, I showed you earlier, I was playing around with some animations when I announced this video series. Then I played around with some animations, so I'll use the same animations. So for that, when we were hiding the item, okay, first we need to have access to the container. For that we can say the, let's say, border container, and this will have from cart control bindable, or let's say call it cart control. So we have this cart control bindable, and from this cart control we can access cart control dot container. We can access this container, which is our border. Okay, so for this, what I'll do, I'll have cart control. Can I have it as async? Or okay, let's do one thing. Let's create a new method here. Private async task, and let's say animate container, something like this. Okay, and we'll call this from here. So we can say cart control dot animate container like this. But how we want to animate it, that we need to somehow pass this, which of these three cases this falls into, right? So we are hiding the element, we are showing the element, or we are simply increasing or decreasing the element. Okay, so for that, let's create a internal enum here. So we'll use an enum here, which will say, let's say animation type, something like this. And we'll have animation type, or let's say animation 2, or animation type only. This makes sense. So first out, in, and then when we are increasing the quantity, let's say pulse, we'll use the pulse behavior. So let's expect this type, so animation type, and we'll pass from here, so animate controller, we'll say animation type dot out. We are hiding this. In here we are showing this, so we should use in, and in here we'll use pulse. Cool, now let's do these things here. How we are going to do this? First we can have switch case, or we can have if else. Let me have if else. So we'll use animation. Let's have switch case, that makes more sense. So we'll say animation type, and from here first case, if this is in, we are showing the item. So what we'll do here, we'll simply do a wait, and we'll say container dot scale to 1.5. Break. Okay. Then if the animation type is out, we'll do await container dot scale to, we'll say let's move it back to 0. Break. And if that's not the case, then it falls to default case, which is actually our case, which is the pulse case. So we'll do the pulse animations. For that, let me have a helper method here, internal function method. So we'll say pulse, and in here what we'll do, we'll say await container dot scale to 1 and make it fast. So instead of 250 ms, we'll use 180 milliseconds. So it will scale to 1, then we'll move it to 1.2, then we'll move it back to 1, then again we'll move it to 1.2. We are actually repeating this animation, so it gives that shaking effect, left right left right left right, something like this. Cool. And this pulse we'll use here, await pulse. So I think we should check it out now. So let's run it. Okay, we have 0, 1. You saw that? Now it is not here. Now it is here. And if we increase the quantity, nothing is happening, but something should happen. Increasing the quantity. Okay, nothing is happening in this case. In that case, right? So it will not come in this case if old count is less than 1. Okay, with the count we are only modifying when the actual value is changing, right? Okay, so I think we can get rid of this pulse thing. They are going to be in and out, nothing else. Or let's do one thing. Okay, let's do this. Let's use this pulse here also. Await pulse. Save. And this should be the first case, so let's remove everything. Okay, so we can see this. Fine, and let's make it more beautiful. We'll see one more what we'll do here. So we'll say dot rotate to 360 degree, 360, and we need these two run together. So we'll say task dot when all, this one first and then this one second at the same time. Let's see this. We need to run it. Let's do the opposite of this in this out. So what we'll do here, same task dot when all, scale to 0 and rotate to minus 360. Fine. Let's run it. Rerun it basically. And we cannot see that animation. Why so? Rotation is not working. Oh, something happened, right? Animation out, scale to 0, scale to 1.5. For now, let's do one thing. Let's remove these scales and let's see if this works without it. Okay, it is working actually, but it is too fast, right? let's do one thing. Let's increase the time. We'll say, let's say 500 and 500. Mhm. Let me stop and rerun. Container dot rotate to, it should rotate. Okay. Yeah, it rotated. Okay, let's change this back to where we had earlier rerun. Fetching data, fine. Yeah, it went right. Or maybe we'll fine tune it later. We can do this. There is no point of wasting so much time, but at least we can see it. Something is happening. We can see this nice animation. We can play around with this. But only one thing which I want, when we are first coming to this point, uh, it should not be here. So for 0, the visibility should be false. So let's try if property triggers works with this. So what we'll do here, we'll add border dot triggers, and we'll use data trigger with target type of border, the binding with binding count. Oh, we are not having the data type. Okay, but it is working fine. The data type is just for to show the intelligence, nothing else. Binding is this binding, and then value 0. So when the counts value becomes 0, we need to hide it. So what we'll do here, setter. Okay, now comes the problem. The problem is, if we do this, then we'll not have our animation. Setter property is visible, value false. See this, right? So if we do this, then we'll not have our animation, because then this trigger is going to be triggered right away. So we cannot do this. Instead, what we'll do, let's do one thing. Let's make it hidden with some other approach. So what we'll do, let's, when this item is first getting rendered on the screen, so we'll override on size allocated method. Okay, here we can access this container, and we'll set its scale to 0. Okay, what it means, initially we are manually setting it 0, so by default it will be 0 when we are coming on this page, and after that when we'll add or remove items, then it will behave as per our animation, right? So let's rerun the app once again. This time it should not be there on the screen. Okay, it is not here, it is not here, and now when we edit the item, then we can see it. It is not here, it is here, and the items are also getting added and removed. Fine. So this thing is working. Cool. So I think that's pretty much all for this video. In the next video, we'll work on a page for cart page. When we click on this floating action button, it should move us to a new page where we'll see a list of complete cart, all the items, quantity, total quantity, item wise quantity, all the things. Then we'll work on let's say place order feature. right? Okay, so please like this video, share this video, subscribe my channel,